Так, дійсно, 2020-й виявився роком, який ніхто не міг спрогнозувати. Навіть дослідники трендів. Події розвивалися настільки стрімко, що їхній аналіз може зайняти декілька років. Утім, ми не пропонуємо сьогодні вдаватися у спогади. Ми хочемо говорити про те, що ми можемо зробити вже сьогодні для розвитку громадянського суспільства і що ми мусимо зробити вже завтра, аби адаптуватися до нових умов. Мене звати Тимур Мірошниченко, і я радий вітати всіх вас на другому національному форумі соціальних та поведінкових змін «ШКАЛА 2021». Так, сьогодні ми зустрічаємося в форматі онлайн-шоу, і нас із вами попереду очікують два насичені дні в компанії міжнародних та локальних експертів. І тема року – адаптивність до сьогодення, відповідальність за майбутнє. Ну що ж, я пропоную розпочинати офіційну програму.
This forum is done under the auspices of the program Supporting Civil Society run by the EU office in Ukraine, promoting civil activity Get Involved funded by the USAID, which is done by the Pact in Ukraine and the UNICEF. The co-organizer of the event is Ideas First. For the opening address, I'm turning over to the person who runs the program Supporting Civil Society, representing the EU delegation in Ukraine, Ms. Sinziana Poiana.
Exactly 1 year ago, I was arriving to Ukraine from a habitual weekend trip abroad. And little did I know that this was going to be my last trip abroad without needing to check a million approvals, whether I can enter the country, whether I need a special approval from the government, a COVID-19 test, and so on. Since then, personally, I started the COVID-19 lockdown with a lot of optimism, trying to look for opportunities. And, this was also professionally an opportunity to support the civil society organizations that the European Union works with in Ukraine to make a smoother transition from working in their offices to working online from home, to try to support community-based organizations in reacting to the COVID-19 crisis, working with local authorities to try to help out hospitals or whatever they saw that is needed to enable and empower their citizens to get through the COVID-19 lockdown easier. However, by the summer of 2020, it became very clear that the COVID-19 lockdown was also not going to end by the end of 2020, and was also, although creating opportunities for more connectedness, was going to leave us with some maybe bigger questions on these so-called opportunities that we were noticing so far. In Ukraine, but also at global level, we saw a bigger debate stemming around the effects that the lockdown would have on democratic principles, on practices of accountability and transparency. By the fall, here in Ukraine, we saw also major reforms being rolled back, again confirming this question that should be debated in the public as to the effects that the lockdown of COVID-19 would have on democratic institutions and accountability. Now, a year on, we are all happily connected online. We all have our work offices at home. So we are definitely more connected. But are we more together? And I think this is a very important question to pose at the beginning of this forum. Because civil society work, what civil society is in fact essentially about togetherness and about community. People need to be together in order to create civil society, in order to create impact on their communities, in order to hold their government to account, in order to foster change. And this is what these 2 days are about. It brings together around 2,000 change makers from Ukraine and abroad, speakers and participants alike, in this idea that we can still, even under these circumstances, with all we have learned and all we have adapted to in the past year, foster change. So it is my great pleasure, as your first speaker for the day, on behalf of the European Union, to welcome you to this event that I believe it is unique in Ukraine in trying to start a conversation on how we can still drive behavioral change, social change, under the current circumstances. To end on a more positive note, I would like to thank very much our partners who have made this event possible. This was made possible through a collaboration between the European Union, UNICEF, PACT Engage, with the support of the United States Agency for International Development. I would like to also take this opportunity to really extend a warm thank you to Irina Titarenko, who you all know, who made this possible, and of course to Ideas First, who will help us get through this event in the best way possible, exhibiting our digital connectedness, but also making available a space for us to be together. So I wish you all to enjoy and find the inspiration that you need for a more prone to change 2021. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sinziana, for the opening speech and, of course, for your smile. Thank you. And, of course, we would like to say thankful words to the EU for the supporting of the event and helping in developing civil society. And, of course, Sinziana, I'm inviting you to the speakers lounge area. Ну що ж, пані та панове, ми продовжуємо, і для вітального слова зараз я запрошую.
So with this, I'm turning over to the director of the program on promoting civil activities engage, Mr. Roland Kovats.
Having me, and thank you, Sinziana, for the warm welcome. Ladies and gents, there is one thing I hope you all have right now in front of your screens, a big jar of coffee or a big jar of tea, and you will be spending the time with us and keep refilling it and going to continue work with us throughout these couple of days. Those who know me, they also know that typically I come with some points, speeches that seemingly are not connected to the topic of today. Today, on our event, we're talking about communication in the pandemic era. What I'd like to share a little bit is about my own experience in communication, and in particular, making our choices, being honest with ourselves and with our audiences, and ultimately, behavior, our own behavior and our audience's behavior. Ultimately, communication, strategic communication, is about trying to affect other people's behavior. We wish that they would do something that they perhaps otherwise wouldn't do. It's a very difficult task, especially in the era of pandemic, when we're only really interacting through these screens with each other. But humanity and individuals, citizens like you, we all have some common traits. We share some common behavioral traits and psychological traits, which perhaps helps us communicate more effectively. First of all, and this is very key for Ukraine too, in its quest towards Euro-Atlantic integration, its drives towards reforms, be it rule of law, be it social services, be it COVID. One thing we don't like, and that is change. We don't like to wear masks. We don't like to stay away from our favorite restaurants or from our grocery stores. Many of these things during the COVID period, we ourselves noticed that this is the type of change that we don't want. However, there are some types of changes that we are aiming for. And there are types of things that others do. We humans like somehow to behave like other humans. And that's great when in the times of COVID, when we are making an example of ourselves and behaving the way we want others to behave, then we have a likelihood and chance that our audience will do the same. If it wasn't for the television, you would not see my face, other than my glasses. It's because we're all wearing masks. It's because you are all wearing masks. Another important lesson I had over the past almost a year now is that there are too much information. We are overloaded with information. It's great that we have tons of opportunities to interact online. But on the other hand, us humans, when we are facing so many choices, so many information, we have overloaded with the choices that we have, then we end up doing nothing most of the times. It's better for us than to just stay inside our own little bubbles. Finally, a lesson for me from communication of the last couple of months is communication is a lot more than just our language. We are communicating with our entire body, we're communicating with our behavior, we're communicating with our posture. All of those actions that we do on the street, at home, at our workplace, reflect what we're trying to say. So what I'm trying to really say is that to be honest with yourself, be honest with your audience, learn from your mistakes, adapt your mistakes, and always strive for innovation. This is going to be our 2 days when we're striving for some new innovation in communication. And I would like to thank all of those who are partners in this crime with us. First and foremost, thanks again, big shout out to Sinziana and the EU delegation, as well as UNICEF. Also to our communication partner, Ideas First company. But first and foremost, you participants who are already with us and will stay with us, and all of us speakers who are going to help us follow through these couple of days. Thank you very much, and so let the show begin.